Tom, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. You're all the way from the port at Montrose, which is fab, and we're going to get a real insight into kind of what your role is. But I wonder if you would maybe just start us off by telling us a bit about you and what you do, and is there a story to that?
Yeah, thanks, Alison. Thanks for giving me the chance to get out of my pajamas at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a welcome change. But no, I hail from the Orkney Islands mainly. I've been in Montrose now since 2000, but my father was a lighthouse keeper. Actually, I was the son of a lighthouse keeper, and so mainly moved around at different lighthouses in the north of Scotland. But most of my schooling was done in Orkney. And as you can imagine, it was, if you're brought up in Orkney, you're either a farmer, a fisherman, or you go to sea. That seems to be the mantra. So I chose to go to sea. We had a nautical department actually linked to the Stromness Academy where we were. So I think I spent most of my high school years in the nautical department, and it transpired I even ended up with a seamanship or an O-level in seamanship, I should say that. So I actually have an O-level in seamanship, which not a lot of people can claim to have, but most of the folk in Orkney have one actually, but that's by the by. So at the age of 16, I went to sea. I joined a local shipping company in the Orkney Islands, Denison Shipping it was called at the time. So I went there at 16 as a deck boy, and we went all around Europe and different ports all over the place. And so with Denison Shipping, I got my mate's ticket. And eventually then I did my master's ticket, and I sailed as master at 25, which seems a hell of a long time ago now. But so we did that for a few years, sailing here, there and everywhere. And eventually one day I was just coming into Montrose on the ship. I think we were taking a cargo, if I remember, taking a cargo of scrap from Shetland to Montrose for John Lorries, who are one of our stakeholders here now. And I just happened to say to one of the pilots, I fancied learning to be a pilot or coming ashore. And at that time I was working 2 months away and 1 month at home, so it was getting a wee bit tiring. So I came ashore, started my training as a pilot in 2000, and I've been here ever since. So that's kind of my story, Alison.
That's brilliant. I don't think anybody's ever done that kind of intro with such a great story. You're going to spoil it for everybody else now, Tom. That's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. I love that. So you've obviously done all sorts of different things. You now find yourself in the authority, the Port Authority at Montrose. So what do you like best about what you do?
Oh, there's lots I like, actually. I mean, we are a trust port, so what that actually means is we're sort of, we're governed by, we have a chairman, and there's 9 people on our board. But it's actually a really nice business model to work for, because all the profits we make go back into the port. So it doesn't, some people confuse it with it's non-for-profit. I wouldn't be in my job very long if I wasn't making much profit. But yeah, so that's a nice business model. So and I think a lot of the stakeholders buy into that business model. A lot of the people that come here and rent property office and use the port, I think they like the fact that they know, I can sit across from at the table from them and say, look, this is for the port. This is not for shareholders or any of that sort of stuff. So our stakeholders, they buy into that and they enjoy that. But there's numerous things. The team, obviously, fantastic team here in Montrose. A lot of young kids, really enthusiastic people. And on the odd day when the sun's shining and it's flat cam, I sometimes like to go and play with the boats. So I'm very spoiled. I do get to go and ship handling. I enjoy it. It's what I do best, I think. I'm not bad at it. So I like to, every now and again, I'll ask the pilots just to stand aside. I never seem to, I think they'll tell you, I never ask them to stand aside when the weather's horrendous and they're out there doing what they do, and they do it very well. But I do have rank as privilege in that case. I can go and play with a boat on a bonny day.
I love it. One of the times that we came to the port, I think, it was the springtime just before lockdown, and we were blessed. The weather was absolutely glorious, and we went on to one of the boats, and the size, like the scale of how high those boats were, we were very lucky to kind of get a really fabulous tour and see where Sea Green are going to be based and stuff. It's a really lovely place.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean the boats, as you say, they're not building small boats anymore. They're, some of the things we're bringing into Montrose now is just phenomenal. The big new Maersk Starfish class and all these guys. They're just massive boats. At times you feel like you need a bigger port. Sometimes, Alison. So.
World domination. That's what it's all about, Tom, isn't it? We're asking all of our people that come on and to be interviewed about some of their favourite things, and we're obviously a chamber that covers Dundee and Angus, and we're just asking everybody, what is your favourite thing about this area that we're from?
I think the space. I think when you come from the Orkney Islands, I think you appreciate. I used to go for a walk in Orkney around the beaches, and you never see anybody, and it's really the same here. I've got 3 dogs. I live in Montrose myself. I think Montrose is a fantastic town, fantastic people. It's just big enough for me, I think, if I'm honest. But it's also got the benefits. I can quite often go down to London when we get back to normal. When COVID allows, or the vaccine allows, I'd go down to London 2 or 3 times a year normally in business. So I just I'm 10 minutes to the train station, hop on the train and off down to London, and likewise to the airports. So yeah, no, I love the area. We're more than settled in Angus, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And what about your favourite time of year? Do you have a favourite time of year, and why would that be?
Well, it's not this time of year. I was going to say, actually, Montrose, Angus, this sort of area, it's probably the driest part of Scotland, or even Britain. I think it's very unusual to get a day like this with torrential rain for the whole day. But I would say May, June time. I like to get up with my dog. I think it's that kind of Orkney thing in me. I think I like to get up with the dogs about 5 in the morning and go for a big walk, 4 or 5 miles every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I think we've got one of the most beautiful beaches in the country. You get it all to yourself at that time of the morning. It's fantastic. So it's really good. So yeah, I would say May, June time.
Brilliant. Okay. And I've been talking to people all this year through, various levels of lockdown and restrictions. And actually, today is a day where Angus is moving down a level and getting a wee bit more freedom. But what is that thing that you are missing most as we've got these restrictions around us?
I'm lucky, compared to a lot of people. I think, I've got a fair sized garden, and, especially in the summertime, it wasn't too bad. But, I just think, just being able to drop round a friend's house, I think that's what we're missing at the moment, and have that type of thing. Definitely regarding COVID, it's, I think the fun's gone out of life a wee bit, maybe. I think everybody's everybody's just maybe had enough now as well. But I do think we have to behave ourselves for a few months more till the vaccine starts maybe kicking in, especially for the vulnerable. But yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking I would love to go for a pint, but I know when they probably lift it, I probably won't. You know what I mean? So it's. But yeah, I think. As well, my background being cooped up on a ship for 2 months at a time, I'm kind of used to it, so it's not been too bad for me. But
we spoke, I think, before we kind of came on this recording. We were talking about the fact that you and some of your colleagues have got key worker status, but I've been asking people about how their work has changed during this crisis and what the future's looking like.
Do you know what? I think actually, with the team I've got, I've had to phone them up at sort of 8 o'clock at night and tell them to stop bloody pestering me with emails and the like, because, and I do think it's, I think when COVID started, I thought, I think I was like everybody else. I said, right, it'll never go back to the way it was again. But I do think we're social animals, and I think it will be good when people and you can see, if the odd occasion when we come in and we have to focus on something, there's 2 or 3 of us in the office, we do have a lot of fun. We work really, really hard here, but we have an awful lot of fun as well. And I think people, there'll always be the flexibility with COVID that, there's still a few people commute sort of, an hour at a time every morning. There's no point in that in the future, especially in the depths of winter when it's dangerous. But we were fortunate here. We actually introduced a system, Ion Smart Port, which was a company based down in Edinburgh. We used to have this old whiteboard that you manually wrote all the boats up on the whiteboard and then you rub them out again and all that kind of stuff. So what Marlin Smart Port has done for us is enable us to be able to log on from home. So for the marine team, it's been really, really useful. So we've got all these fancy tellies now in port control, and the guys can sit and input everything there. But we can also log into the dashboard from home, so I can see how many boats are in the port, how many boats are due, when they're about to sail again. So for the marine team, that's been invaluable actually for the planning and being able to stay in their own bubble at home sort of thing. So the smart port thing, and we're the first in the world to have that system at the moment. So it was a collaborative effort between ourselves and Ions Marlin that got it up and running. They used our sort of expertise and all things shipping. So yeah, no, it's there's lots of good things happening at the moment, and the business is still going in the right direction. So really impressed with the team, how they managed to keep everything going.
Yeah, and what about the future for your port?
There's going to be, we're still, I think we spoke about Seagreen earlier, and it's, I got my head around the enormity of the impact that's going to have in Montrose in particular, but not just Montrose, Angus, Dundee, Aberdeen, the east coast of Scotland. It's going to be the biggest wind farm in Scotland. It's going to power 1.3 million homes, all that kind of good stuff. At least 200 jobs just in Seagreen one alone, I think. So it's going to be huge for the place. But I think the way I'm made, and I think the way maybe the team's made as well, we haven't put it to bed. There's still lots of work to do. We've got to get the office built, but we're moved on to other things now as well. So we don't rest on our laurels. We like to see what's down the road and see if there's anything else we can do. We're hugely reliant on oil and gas here in Montrose. And it's always, we're continually speaking to the oil and gas people, their stakeholders, seeing what we can do for them, because it's really them that make the port. We are just the landlord, if you like. We're the keys and the pilot boat, and we bring, we do the marine side of it really, really well. But we're hugely dependent on all the big players like, Intermoor, Chinco, FMS, Baker Hughes. All these guys are massively important to the port. So it's making sure that, they're happy as well, and we're doing right by them as well. So.
I know from just even coming in and visiting the port, when you drive past the sign of all of these organisations and big massive brands that are connected with your port, it certainly opened my eyes, that's for sure. It's a fascinating place. Yeah,
and it's all the general cargo people as well. I mean, obviously with the current panic with Brexit, we're getting lots of cargo coming in and lots of cargo going back out again before any tariff is levied. So yeah, we've done really well in the general cargo business this sort of autumn onwards as well. So it's been really good.
And when we're more freely able to get out and about, once our restrictions are lifted, what's at the top of your lockdown escape bucket list?
You're welcome to come to the office party. We're going to have a massive party. I'm going to hire a pub. We're going to get very drunk. We're going to fall all over the place. It's going to be fantastic. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is going to treat the team to a big day out. And then my wife and I have France booked for next year. So we take the dogs, we drive down to France to get a house down there. And I can't speak any French. I just shout at them if I'm honest, but that's the way it goes. It seems to work.
Brilliant. And if you had a message for people out there about the things you've learned yourself about the world of work and business, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think I started as harbour master in 2015, and then from that I became, I got another title of operations director, I think, about 2.5 years ago. So I was largely running the operation, from the marine side and the operation side anyway. And then the previous chief executive, Nick, moved on down to Dover. Nick Scott Gray is a good friend of mine. So I was swithering, if I'm honest, to whether I should take the job. And I don't know, it was just kind of, I think one comment somebody said to me about business, and she was right, and she was an important stakeholder and sadly passed this year, but she did say to me, she took me aside and said, business is complicated. People overcomplicate business. Business is really just people talking to people. That's all it is. So that would be my message. I think it's just keep talking.
Brilliant. Well, and that very nicely takes me right to the last thing I want to ask you, which is if people have been fascinated by the story or just want to get in touch and kind of follow up or catch up with you, how do they get in touch if they fancy a chat?
It's just Tom at Montrose Port. It's really straightforward. Tom at montroseport.co.uk. So I'll be welcome to take any questions. Welcome for any visits if people want to come up and have a look around as well. We can easily arrange that especially once the COVID's. My wife's got me an 800 calories a day at the minute, Alison. It's bloody torture. So we could put a sandwich on if you want. I'll be more than happy to do that stuff.
They can bring the biscuits.
Bring the biscuits, absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Tom, thank you so much. Hugely fascinating to talk to you, and looking forward to the next time that we can get out and kind of come and see what's developed at the port since the last time we were there. But I do really appreciate it. For those of you out there that are watching this on on the Chamber's YouTube channel or on our social media channels. If you fancy taking a seat with us, then please get in touch. Thanks again to Tom and his colleagues for volunteering him. I very much appreciate it. Thanks, Tom.
No bother, Alison. Thank you.
Right.